Hello, thank you for joining me at Bert's Books, where this time I'm not strictly going to be talking about anything book related particularly. I suppose it ties in, but I may as well go off at a bit of a tangent since they've killed my views again. So all the good advice you get about keeping on message or whatever, why bother? They're just YouTube are turning my views on and off like a tap this year. I had sort of 2 months grace around February, March, and then they just killed it again. So we may as well just talk about anything on here, rather than stick to channel remit. Anyway, I'm blathering on. I've resumed in a small measured way the vinyl junkie habit. I picked up recently this, which is on a label. The label is known as Library of the Occult, and they were kind of a surprise to me. But I suppose I'd sometimes buy releases just on the strength that the label presented themselves in such a good way that you kind of knew you were going to get something good. There used to be Death Waltz Records, which specialised in kind of obscure and not so obscure horror soundtracks, and you always knew you could spend whatever. Albums aren't cheap these days, but you could, for the outlay of an album, you knew you were going to get a sort of nice recording and packaging job and everything, and they sort of reminded me of them in a way, although it's I think the recordings here, they're sort of presented as if they're soundtracks. I don't believe in many cases they actually are, as far as I can make out. That old cliche to a soundtrack to a film that doesn't exist. I think in some cases these are. Anyway, I sort of flicked through the catalogue, and they have some of their stuff is on here on YouTube, so you can have a little listen without, prior to making the purchase. I would encourage you to make the purchase if you're keen. Obviously keep people afloat, but anyway, sort of sampling a few things. For some reason, I landed on this one. Now, I have to point out, at the time I made the purchase, I had no idea what the Hexham Heads were, or even, for all I knew, it might have just been something in the composer's imagination. I didn't remember anything or know anything about the story of the Hexham Heads. But we'll get to that. Anyway, I think what appealed to me about this was that the graphics reminded me, I suppose, I don't know if it's based on a particular library music recording. There's something slightly familiar about the graphics there. It may have been inspired by some or other library music album that I've seen over the years. But musically, I'm going to go into that hauntology thing again. I'm always a bit wary of this because we talk about hauntology. I can't define what hauntology is strictly. It's I have an idea that I approve of it. I couldn't really explain to you what particularly hauntology is, other than if you enjoyed watching The Changes when you were a kid, that kind of thing. Taking it as a kind of loose intersection between the lost world of modernism that English people of my age will remember, the intersection of that and folk horror. I suppose it maybe dwells around that area somewhere. I'll maybe explore that more in future broadcasts. But anyway, there's this kind of loose aesthetic that's very appealing somehow, and it's captured in this. It has the quality sonically. It has the quality. I mean, it's tying in with the graphics very much. Sonically, it has the quality of somewhere between the BBC Radiophonic Workshop and some or other kind of obscure library music of the period and your actual horror music, dedicated horror film soundtrack. It has this kind of very ominous quality, and also this element of, I suppose, distressed analog creeping into it, like slightly scrambled, intercepted, distress broadcasts. That kind of thing. Or if you listen to this, you can imagine the visuals. This kind of one of those kind of late night 70s programs, and whether documentary or drama, you'd get these kind of slightly disturbing TV broadcasts, sometimes of either nature. I suppose you have to be my sort of age to really click with some of this, unless you've really sort of retroactively looked into it. But it sort of seems to dwell very much in that area. It summons up this, it's of a sort of ambient kind of nature, or doom beyond, maybe is closer to say. It summons up this kind of uneasy feeling. And I don't know much about the Night Monitor. I don't know a lot about or anything about who they are. I'm imagining they're sort of working with either reconditioned vintage analog monophonic equipment, or at least they've got something that emulates that kind of sound. But I'm really enjoying this, and sort of tempted to check out a bit more of the label's output. They're a complete, come as a complete surprise to me, but there's quite a big catalogue there, so I'm not sure how long they've been going. But anyway, so this arriving, and I gave it a few plays, and I thought, well, what are the Hexham Heads? I thought, well, I'd better have a look at what that is. Now, many of you might be familiar already. It's this story dating from starting in the early 70s. This family living in Hexham, which I believe is in Northumberland. The kids were kind of messing around in the garden, sort of digging around in the dirt, and somehow came up with this pair of kind of little stone heads, which look kind of, I think, generally reckoned to be of Saxon vintage, or at least the quality of a Saxon period carving. I think there's some disagreement over the exact vintage, but so anyway, these kids come into the house with these mysterious carvings, put them on the side or on the mantelpiece, and very quickly bizarre phenomena start happening, starting with this kind of poltergeisty things going bump and moving around, and this kind of thing going on, and this kind of escalates further to apparitions of well, I'll see varied descriptions. It seems like some sort of composite man-beast type of apparition, either a man-goat, or more. I think the more popular interpretation is that it's a sort of a ghost werewolf type of thing, basically appearing in the house, bothering people, and then sort of not. It appears and seems to be looking for something, and then freaks everyone out, but then just kind of vanishes. And this could, I suppose, have been put down to some hallucination or hoax, other than the neighbours also started experiencing it. So this all gets very odd, and then I believe a particular academic showed an interest. I think they may have taken these to a museum, and then an academic, a Dr. Ross, I believe the name was, of Southampton University, took custody of these objects, and the same things then started happening to her family. And it's a little unclear where these things have ended up. It seems that some collector, if I've got this right, some collector ended up with these in their possession, and then they've sort of just vanished from the map. No one's been able to trace where now they are. You just hope nowhere near your home. But it's quite an odd one. Now, you know, I wouldn't say I'm a huge believer in these, you know, I enjoy these kind of weirdy kind of folk tale type things, or, you know, if that's the fair description of them. Uh, I wouldn't say I entirely buy into them all, largely, but, you know, the fact that a number of different people, including an academic at a university, reported associated oddness, that's quite puzzling. Um, Now, like I say, I'm a complete novice to this one. It's only through slightly randomly landing on this of all the things in the catalogue that I opened that door. Anyway, to sort of bring it around to a booky sort of area, a theme. It turns out there is a book on this subject available. I'm sort of tempted, actually. The Quest for the Hexham Heads by Paul Screeton. Not sure when this was published. It looks fairly recent. CFZ Press, 2012, recent-ish in the scheme of things. That seems to be up on eBay for about 22 quid, something like that. It's sort of interesting. Anyway, you know, if you might know a lot more than me about this subject. I don't know, but a bit odd, isn't it? And we're not even at Halloween yet. But anyway, I would say, you know, if you're of that sort of persuasion, I would sort of go over and check out some of what Library of the Occult are doing. There's, you know, a lot of this catalogue is listenable, and it's all of this. Well, it all seems to be within this area. If you like either things of that soundtrack nature or library music nature, I think you'll find it appealing. I think they're doing a live night next month. I think there's something going on in North London next month, which does sound tempting. But anyway, all right, I've, you know, gone off subject a little bit, but I think, you know, both on the term of the background story and the label's other output, probably worth further investigation. Anyway, thank you again for joining me, and hope everyone's doing well out there. Please like and follow if you're of a mind, and I hope to see you soon.